Namaskaram, my name is S. Ashok Kumar. Welcome to my channel. So in this part, I am going to start the first step in respiration, that is pulmonary ventilation. You can simply call it as a breathing. Okay. Now, actually this breathing included two steps. Breathing or pulmonary ventilation included two steps. One is a inhalation, or you can call it as a inspiration. The next one is a exhalation, expiration. These two steps, inhalation and exhalation, together comes under breathing, one step. Okay. So what is actually basis of this breathing? This is based on creating pressure gradient. Creating the pressure gradient. This point is important. Creating the pressure gradient between lungs and atmosphere. So breathing is due to creating the pressure difference between the two environment, that is the lungs and the atmosphere. So how this is possible? How the pressure gradient is, how it is possible to create the pressure gradient? So in this creation, there are two different types of muscles. One is diaphragmic or phrenic muscles. Phrenic muscles and external intercostal muscles. Intercostal muscles play important role during normal breathing. Normal breathing. What it mean? Diaphragmic muscles are phrenic muscles. These phrenic muscles are the muscles, they connect diaphragm to the ribs and vertebral column. So that is why these are called as the diaphragmic muscles or phrenic muscles. Phrenic muscles are the muscles which connect diaphragm to the ribs and vertebral column. That means the contraction and the relaxation of the diaphragm due to the contraction and relaxation of the phrenic muscles. Come to take the external intercostal muscle. Actually, what are intercostal muscles? If you take the ribs, okay, now these are the ribs. This is the outside, this is the inside. These the muscles which covers the ribs from the outside, this one outside, these are called as a external intercostal muscles. For example, consider this is the inside of the ribs. The muscles which cover the ribs from the inside, these are called as a internal intercostal muscles. Here the diaphragm muscles and external intercostal muscle. Internal intercostal muscles also play role, but during the forceful breathing. That is why here I am telling phrenic muscles, diaphragm and external intercostal muscles play very important role during the normal breathing. Now I am going to understand you these steps, inhalation and exhalation. First, I will explain about the inhalation. Now, I am going to explain the process of inhalation. So, here, this inhalation, like contraction of phrenic muscles. I said, what are phrenic muscles? The muscles connect the diaphragm to the ribs and the vertebral column. That makes contraction of the phrenic muscles make contraction of diaphragm. So actually diaphragm is a dome shaped diaphragm, na? Because of contraction of diaphragm, that dome shape become flat. Dome shape become a flat shape. That means how? Just for understanding, this is a dome shaped diaphragm. Because of the contraction, automatically what is happening? It become a like this, flat shape. because of it become a flat shape diaphragm where it is a present, that is a down to the lungs na. This is the anterior part, this is the posterior part. Yes or no? Because of that diaphragm become a flat, anterior posterior axis length definitely increased. Yes or no? Simultaneously, here what I said, contraction of the diaphragmic muscles. Simultaneously, contraction of external intercostal muscles. That when the external intercostal muscles get contracted, that makes ribs move upward. Ribs move upward. We can sense ribs move upward. Simultaneously, sternum. What is the sternum? That is the ventral part of the thoracic chamber. Sternum move upward and outward. These ribs move upward, sternum moves upward and outward. That makes, when these ribs move upward, sternum also move upward and outward. That makes, this is present in the, this one. What is called ventrodorsal? Na? As a result of that, ventrodorsal axis length is increased. That is why while you are studying, you have to study like this. Simultaneously, contraction of the diaphragm and contraction of the external intercostal muscles. That makes, together makes thoracic volume. Thoracic volume. What is the thoracic volume? The thoracic volume is nothing but the volume of the thoracic cavity is increased. What I said, thoracic volume is directly related to the volume of the pulmonary volume. So, what is the pulmonary volume? The volume within the lungs. So, pulmonary volume also increases. Volume is increased, it means automatically what it means? Volume is increased, it means the pressure is a decrease. So, intrapulmonary pressure. Intrapulmonary pressure, volume is increased, automatically pressure is decreased. So the within the lungs, the pressure is lower. It is a pressure is lower than the atmosphere. Automatically outside is a high pressure, that is a 760, that is a constant. When compared with outside, within the inside the lungs, pressure is low. Automatically air enters into the lungs. That is why air enter into lungs. Air enters into lungs, that process is called as a inhalation. Inhalation means what? The process of taking the air into the lungs from the atmosphere. Overall, how it is possible? Because of the contraction of the diaphragm and contraction of the external intercostal muscles, the thoracic volume size is increased. Thereby, the pulmonary, intrapulmonary pressure is decreased. This pressure within the lungs is lower than the atmosphere. Reference point is always atmosphere. When the pressure is become low, automatically air is forced into the lungs. That process is called as a inhalation. Next I am going to opposite. I am going to explain about the exhalation. After the process of inhalation, now I am going to explain about the process of exhalation. So very simple. What are the steps happened in the inhalation? Exactly opposite you have to think about the exhalation. Okay. What is exhalation? Air is coming out to the atmosphere from the lungs. So here, that means here relaxation of phrenic muscles. So muscles get relaxed. In case of inhalation, what is happening? Muscles get contracted. That makes relaxation of diaphragm. Relaxation of the diaphragm. That means what? Again, diaphragm comes to diaphragm become normal. Become normal means what? Become dome shape. It obtains the normal shape. Generally, the diaphragm is a dome shape. Because of the relaxation of the diaphragmatic muscles, what happened? That diaphragm become a normal. Because of that reason, what happening? Anterior, posterior, axis length is decreased. Instead of decrease, it came to the normal. Yes or no? Simultaneously, relaxation of external intercostal muscles that makes ribs move downward. You can sense it. The ribs moves downward and sternum become downward, move downward and inside. That is a move downward, outward and inward. During the contraction, what is happening? During inhalation, sternum move upward and outward. During the exhalation, sternum moves towards the downward and inward. Comes to the normal. As a result of this one, what is happening? Dorsoventral axis length is decreased. Okay. So overall, because of the relaxation of the diaphragmatic muscles and external intercostal muscles, overall what is happening? That thoracic volume size become decreased. Yes or no? That size decreased means intrapulmonary volume also decreased. That is why this is called as a thoracic chamber is a 8th chamber. Because space is a decreased or volume is decreased means automatically what happening? Intrapulmonary pressure is increased. That means it is now greater than the atmosphere. Automatically what happened? The air present in the lungs is forced out from the lungs. That means air comes out from lungs. Air comes out of lungs. That process is called as a exhalation. So that is a simple one. Exactly, the events of the exhalation is quietly opposite to the events of the inhalation. Now, what is happening during the exhalation? That relaxation of the diaphragmatic muscles and simultaneously the relaxation of the external intercostal muscles. The thoracic volume is decreased. Thereby, intrapulmonary pressure is increased. When the pressure is greater than the atmosphere, automatically the air is moving from the lungs to the atmosphere. That air comes out of the lung. This process is called as a exhalation. As I said, inhalation involves the contraction of diaphragmatic muscles and the external intercostal muscles. That means the contraction, that means inhalation. Inhalation involves the contraction of the different types of muscles, I already said. So because of muscles undergo contraction requires energy, that is why inhalation is active process. What is the meaning of active process? That use occur with involvement of ATP. What about the exhalation? So exhalation involves the relaxation of the muscles. That means the muscles comes to the normal state. That is why exhalation without involvement of energy. That is why exhalation is a passive process. Okay, now you are understanding. Exhalation is a passive process. This inhalation is an active process because That inhalation involves the contraction of the muscle. The contraction of the muscles requires the energy. Requiring energy, that is called as an active process. The next point related to the Herring Brewer's reflex. Brewer reflex. What did this Herring Brewer's reflex? You know, this reflex is to prevent collapsing of alveoli. I will explain. This reflex, Herring Brewer's reflex, is to prevent the collapsing, preventing the collapsing of the alveoli because of the forced inhalation. What is happening when we are taking the inhalation? Sufficient amount of air enters into the alveoli. That means still when you are taking, automatically the wall of this particular alveoli associated with the stretch receptor. Just you can imagine, these are the alveoli. These alveoli inside associated with the stretch receptors. When the sufficient amount of air enters into the alveoli, these receptors get stretched. When these receptors get stretched, these receptors inside they are associated with the sensory neurons. Immediately these sensory neurons, when this receptor gets stretched, these sensory neurons undergo contraction. That action impulse take the information to the corresponding respiratory center in the brain to stop the inhalation. Why to stop the inhalation? Because sufficient amount of air already entered. When the inhalation stopped, immediately start the exhalation, because exhalation is a just passive process. That is why this is a Herring Brewer's reflex, is to prevent the collapsing of the alveoli. This point is important. The next point is related to a normal healthy person take 12 to 16 times of breathing per minute. Under normal condition, a healthy person under normal physiological condition, he is taking 12 to 16 times of breathing per minute. But when you are doing the exercise, that time the requirement of the oxygen is increased by the tissues. That time automatically breath rate will increase. This is the normal breath rate. The next one, the volume of air involved in breathing. And this is a normal breathing, a strainful breathing, during forceful exhalation, forceful inhalation, like that. The volume of air involved in the breathing is measured by instrument, that is a spirometer. Spirometer is an instrument by which we can measure the volume of different volumes of air involved during the breathing. The next point relates to what I said. During the normal breathing, that means during the normal inhalation and the normal exhalation, there are two different types of muscles that plays a vital role. One is a diaphragm, another one is the external intercostal muscles. Means the diaphragm is absolutely plays a very, very important role during the normal breathing. For example, take one example. One person is going on bike, just because of some mistake, he fell down. So visually you are not seeing any blood loss, but the person is dead. What is the reason? Invisibly the diaphragm get fractured. When the diaphragm get fractured, the person will die. That means with this statement you can clearly understand diaphragm plays a very, very vital role during the normal breathing. So after diaphragm, external intercostal muscle damn surely playing the important role. Okay. So these diaphragmic muscles and external intercostal muscles plays an important role during the normal breathing. But during forceful breathing or exhalation, during the forceful breathing or forceful exhalation, there is two other muscles like internal intercostal muscles, and abdominal muscles. These two, internal intercostal muscles and abdominal muscles, when they get contracted, when they will undergo contraction, when these internal intercostal muscles and abdominal muscles get contracted, automatically the thoracic volume become decreased. The thoracic volume is decreased means the pressure within the lungs get increased. When the pressure is increased, automatically, forcefully, the air comes out. That is why these internal intercostal muscles and abdominal muscles play role only during the forceful breathing or only during the forceful exhalation. This is about the process of breathing. That is the first step in the respiration. That is a pulmonary ventilation or breathing that included two steps. One is inhalation and exhalation. Till now I explained. Till now, if you understand the concept well, you can like and share this video to your friends and subscribe our channel. If you have any doubts about this video, comment below. Definitely I will respond to your questions. Thank you.